I want to give you a tool, and it's a Second Amendment tool. And I have to tell you, what happened in Texas is horrific. And all the liberal media is going to tell you, oh, it's guns, 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 we got to ban AR-15s. No, we do not. You know what we have to ban? We have to ban the pharmaceutical companies that are giving these individuals pharmaceutical psychotropic drugs, and this particular 19-year-old, and nobody wants to talk about the drug issue.
Michelle Fiore, a candidate for state treasurer of Nevada, decided to weigh in on the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, and said it's not guns, despite what the liberal media will tell you, but in fact, it is psychotropics, and we need to ban the pharmaceutical industries, somehow managing to be both anti-gun reform and anti-vax at the exact same time. That is some mind-blowing work. Well done.
This particular 19-year-old was on psychotropics and a lot of different other medications. You really have to get into that fight, understand all of these school shootings, all of these mass shootings have pharmaceuticals behind them. Another thing, he was also on a lot of different medication from transgendering, so his mind was quite defective.
She said, then also completely made up out of thin air, that because he was on medicine for transgendering, not a term, and if it were a term, it would be an offensive term, that is what confused his mind and made him want to kill people. It's nice to be able to make up stuff and then slander an entire group of people who are already marginalized and are just trying to be treated fairly in our society. That's the move, Michelle Fiore, person who, if you become state treasurer of Nevada, things will still probably be pretty there anyway, and so I don't really care if you win or lose, because it's a lawless state. Nevada's a good time for 3 days, and you have to get out immediately before your brain rots, like yours obviously has. Also, I'm on pharmaceutical medicines, Adderall, for my ADHD, and it helps me focus. And in this one case, unfortunately, because it made me focus on you and the very stupid things you say out of your absurd mouth.
My name is Michelle Fiore, your fighter, your warrior. Vote for me for state treasurer. I love you guys so much.
How about, for once, not making everything a left and right issue, but instead making it a right and wrong issue? Too many people get killed with guns. You admitted in your own very dumb video, your very dumb speech, that what happened was a tragedy, and so we should do all things to help fix that tragedy. So once again, you can do both. And it's been a theme in some of my videos lately because it's very important and we never do it. And somebody needs to call these people out when they go on the record in front of crowds, on television, wherever they do it, and they say, the left is going to say it's about guns, but it's about mental health, but it's about doors in schools. There should be one door. Here's how you stop all shootings. You make no doors in schools. If schools have no doors whatsoever, you can't get in or out. Also, shooters can't get in or out. But you know what doesn't ruin their freedom or make them unable to connect with others is having to hide under tables for active shooter drills, which is a better day for them than if there's an actual active shooter. So the problem here is that these Republicans are always just trying to wedge us without ever offering any sort of reasonable solution.
You're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually.
We prefer that you shoot them. And at this news conference, the sheriff was disappointed the intruder, pictured there in orange, survived.
Of course, he didn't get hit, and now we have to pay for him, so.
Sheriff Johnson urged the homeowner to improve their aim.
So whoever that was, you're not in trouble. Come see us. We have a gun safety class we put on every other Saturday, and if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better, and hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money. So,
again, saving money by killing intruders instead of allowing them to live, get arrested, and go to jail if they're a criminal. Good grief. Hello, everybody. I'm David Schuster, and thanks for joining us. Let's be clear. Encouraging citizens to use deadly force without giving it a second thought is beyond disturbing. It will cause needless death, and it may inflame racial tensions. Many of us know parents out there who have teenagers who may, on occasion, sneak out of their home late at night and then sneak back into their home. Well, imagine a teenager who asks his or her friend to come over and sneak into the house. Kids make mistakes, but now some self-proclaimed grown-up who's listening to good old Sheriff Bob Johnson decides to shoot first and ask questions later. And that person ends up shooting a kid, possibly their own. Oh, and now imagine the hypothetical teenage friend sneaking into the house is black. or Hispanic, or just looks different from the family who lives there. Countless studies have shown that implicit bias can cause unfounded racial animosity. In other words, the white parent who fears black people is more likely to open fire on a black teenager entering their home than if that unknown teenager is white. And yet in Santa Rosa County, Florida, you have the top cop in uniform telling people that law enforcement prefers for you to shoot. And that comment is going to land on people who already act in a fashion that is related to bias instead of common sense. More often than not, somebody who is entering your house is not an imminent threat. But thanks to a sheriff saying, go ahead and shoot, we encourage, and you will save the taxpayers money, whatever fears or bias exists has now been weaponized and deputized. Now, I can hear some of you saying, well, what about Florida's Stand Your Ground law? Well, it is true that the state's Stand Your Ground law already lets people use deadly force to prevent a forcible felony, including a home invasion, and the intruder doesn't need to be armed with a weapon. Under the law, someone can use deadly force to defend their property, even when the intruder is not carrying a gun. I don't agree with the law, but that's what it is. But do we really want police and sheriffs to be encouraging homeowners to test out the law even more and take matters into their own hands? And in Florida? To be fair, most Florida residents are reasonable and are not the crazy folks who seem to pop up all the time in the news. But those already unhinged residents of Florida are the ones who cannot be trusted. And now Sheriff Johnson is encouraging them to act like it's the Wild West. No thanks. If Sheriff Johnson is really concerned about saving taxpayers' money, let's start by defunding him. Any law enforcement leader who delights in encouraging death is unfit to serve and doesn't deserve a dime.